Welcome back to the latest episode of the Key and Mang audio experience. I'm your host, Mang. As always, from my fellow co-host, Key. Key, what's good?
What's up, man? How are you?
I'm great. The Nuggets are 5 wins away from winning the NBA Finals for the first time in franchise history, so it's lit. How are you?
I'm good. I can't complain. I don't have anything like that to be excited about. But Connecticut doesn't have any teams, so I'm just like existing,
Well, I feel like a
watching my
lot of
baby daddy LeBron get beat.
sorry about that. Sorry about that. But I feel like Connecticut, like y'all would vibe with like Boston, because that's like
Nah,
the closest thing.
definitely not. More so Knicks or something. I
Uh,
guess it depends where you are in
yeah,
Connecticut, but where I am, I'm like an hour from Manhattan and like 3.5 from Boston,
gotcha. Okay.
4 maybe.
That makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah, depends on where you are. All right, well,
I don't like
Boston,
green.
eh, depends on the shade. Depends on the shade.
Yeah, but eh.
We talk about that later. Today's episode, we got it's all about enneagrams and personality tests. You put me onto a personality test, and I remember we used to do those things in high school, and I've always thought of them as like horoscopes, like they're generalized, but they're specific enough where you can relate to them. So we just took one, we each took one today, and we'll dive into how we scored on them and what we characterized or what we resonated with the most, but and what we did not resonate with, but also just like trying to dive deeper into why we as people react to certain situations the way we do. Or you might be having a conversation with your friends and family, and they might have a different perspective on a subject or on life that you feel differently about. So that's where some of these personality tests, these enneagrams come in. And it's a tool that categorizes individuals into 9 different personality types. Each one has its own unique motivations, fears, and ways of navigating the world. And I think their premises as you understand how you work and how you operate best and what you need to work on, and that helps. It helps you thrive better in the world, and you can be more aware of your thoughts, your emotions, and your behaviors and why you act the way you do. So, Key, can you kind of break down some of the broader categories of the enneagrams?
Yeah, so there's 9 different types of them, and then they break them down into like 3 categories: the heart type, head type, and body type. So heart types depend on their emotional intelligence to understand their interactions or reactions and be able to connect with others. And then the head types depend more so on their intellectual intelligence to make sense of things and navigate through the world and their environment. And then the body types depend on their instincts to follow their gut and respond to threats and any opportunities that may come up. So Meg and I kind of got similar ones. So I'm gonna throw it to you first, and you can talk about your dominant one, and then I'll tell you my thoughts.
Okay. So the at the end of the quiz, you get this like pie graph of like the different 1 through 9s, and the ones that were highlighted the most on mine were 8, 3, and 1. So starting with 8, 8 is a challenger, and they see themselves as strong and powerful and seek to stand up for what they believe in. The greatest fear of the type 8 is to be powerless, so they focus on controlling their environment. I feel like with this, like I said earlier, I feel like there were things that I resonated with and things that I was like, yeah, not really. I feel like my personality can be strong like that, but it also can be, kind of take a back seat and observe what else is going on. So I think I merge the two together pretty good. But like I said, like you see certain points of this where you're like, oh yeah, I definitely agree with that. And there's other parts where I'm like, nah, that's not really me. And I think that's kind of the fun part about taking some of these tests is that you're not going to fit entirely into one category. There's going to be pieces that, fit that you resonate with other than what the dominant personality type is like. So I think, the thing that I felt like I resonated with was that, when it comes time to say what you got to say, or um, deliver news that you got to deliver, it gets done. Like you gotta, you're not afraid to voice how you feel, and I think that that's something I've worked on a lot, and but it's also not just the when I need to speak up about something, but it's also like when I'm feeling some type of way, if I emotional or sad or something, like being able to express that as well. And I feel like that's something that I wanted to, that's one of the big growth tips in category A is learn that vulnerability is strength, not a weakness. And, just letting people see that, there's more than one side to the equation, and being okay with, communicating when I'm feeling some type of way, and, allow people to get to see more of me as a whole instead of just what I want you to see.
Yeah, I had 8 as my first one too, and it was pretty interesting because when we were taking this test, I was thinking of what we read, rocket fuel, rocket power, rocket fuel,
I can feel.
and we were similar in some parts, and then like some aspects of it, we were totally different. And I think with this personality test, we aligned more on this one than we did with the like visionary and integrator.
Hmm.
But so with the challenger, I think that I thought this I thought this one was gonna be something that I had like a big part of of the like pie chart, but it was evenly distributed, and I think that I was reading this and I resonate most with this because I've never really had an issue with like speaking up and stuff. I think if anything, that's more so my downfall. That's more so my downfall. But there was something that I was reading about the challenger, and it was talking about like you push yourself too hard, and that forces you to kind of expect the same out of other people as well. And I think when I read that on the growth tip, I think that that's something that I need to like kind of be more aware about, especially like in my friendships and stuff, because I feel like it could be like overwhelming for other people to deal with somebody like me if they don't want the same things I want. And like being able to come to terms with that is, I think, is helpful for me maintaining uh my relationships.
How do
And
you work
then
on that?
um I work on it by like trying to like just focus on what I want to accomplish and not really talk too much about not really talk too much about like what I'm doing when I'm like conversing with like certain people. I feel like you kind of have to read the room and know the personality types of the people around you, because if like you and I could always talk about like all these things we want to do because we're both like similar, but I have some friends that aren't really like they don't really care enough to want to talk about that all the time. So just kind of keep it light, talk about things that aren't so I guess like work related and like driven like being driven like that. So just like being lighter around those people, I think is what has helped me deal with it. But I don't really know what other way I do.
Is that
Does it
something
make
you
sense?
catch like, yeah, is that something you catch in the moment, or is that something like after the fact that you're like after you see how they react, and like after some time you're like, oh, okay, I probably could have approached this a little differently.
I think it's more so after, because I used to have times where like I'll be out and like I talk about myself all the time. Like I have no issue talking about myself. And then like I'll get like passive aggressive comments like all you do is talk about work, or all you do is work. And like I think when people tell me that, I think it's more so like they don't want to hear about it all the time. You know what I mean? So kind of getting
Hmm.
like those comments, I uh kind of know. Because I only get those comments from certain people.
Hmm.
So I mean that's how I figured it out. It hasn't ruined any relationships, but I definitely like know how to navigate a little bit. And I think if
Gotcha.
like I was to give somebody else this test, like one of my friends, like would be like complete opposite. It's cool to know
Hmm.
though. I think it's important to know. So
Absolutely.
I really
Absolutely.
liked 8. And then on 8, you talked about one of the growth tips were like learning that vulnerability is a strength, not a weakness.
Mhm.
I think that's I think that's hard for most people to do, especially if you're I think it's hard to do when you're like strong minded. It's hard to be vulnerable when people always view you as that. So
Why?
I thought I related to that as well.
Why?
Why?
Hmm.
Because I think like people expect you to have like the same, I guess like same reaction or like just expect you to approach things like headstrong all the time. And then when you're not doing that, it like throws them off. They don't know how to deal with that other side of you. So it's like, why even talk about it?
But I feel like, yeah, I get that. But I feel like also when you see somebody who is acting out of like not out of I don't want to say out of character, but differently than what you're used to, isn't that a sign of like, oh, something must be going on if they're kind of out of character like this?
Yeah, but at the same time, if you're always like with me, like I can feel some type of way and I'll tell you and I'll say it and it'll be the same way I would say anything else. So it's kind of hard to tell like when I'm being vulnerable when I'm not. So I think that's the issue when you're very like strong minded and very uh what's the word for it? I guess like blunt, not blunt, but like you kind of just speak up all the time. It's hard to know. It's hard for somebody else to know when you're actually like being vulnerable or you just being yourself. It's hard to tell the
Hmm.
difference, I think.
But wouldn't it depend on the response that you get, the response that you give, or like the lack thereof response, maybe?
Yeah, maybe. Maybe because there's been times where I'd be really upset, and my friends probably don't know that I'm really upset because I'm talking the same.
Hmm.
So I think it's hard to tell.
I think it depends. I think it depends on the person.
Yeah,
So I feel like for me, I think you know when I'm mad. But I also feel like I'm also not like I'll say what has to be said, but it just come at my own time. It's not gonna come like probably not maybe not immediately, but it'll come. But I feel like with me, you'll know when I'm mad, you'll know when I'm frustrated. So I guess that's just like maybe that's a difference between you and I.
yeah. I think people know you know when I'm mad if I'm like extremely mad, but like if I'm like annoyed or like frustrated, I'm pretty much I talk the same way. And it's
Mm,
like I think it's hard for people to tell the difference. And so it's hard to be vulnerable when you have that when people are always expecting you to respond that way. Or used to
yeah,
responding that way. That's what I'm trying to say.
gotcha. Okay, I follow. I follow.
Yeah. So I thought that was interesting.
Agreed.
There's a
Agreed.
there's another thing that I wanted to say. So um there was one that we just talked about 8, right? Sorry. When we talk about
Yep.
3, I'll tell you because 3 is really me. I think 3 might be more than me than 8.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Because 3 is the achiever, right? And 3 falls under the heart type. And heart types respond or react with like based off their emotions, like their emotional intelligence. I think I'm very like a very emotionally reactive person. Like I'm very impulsive. Like I just go based off how I feel sometimes. Like a lot of times it's more so my emotions of like as opposed to logic. So when I was reading that, I was like, damn, that's really me. And then with the achiever, like we want to be successful, like we're really I wouldn't say that I wouldn't say it the same way that is written on in the personality types. Like they said that you care about the public, the public's image of you. I wouldn't say that I necessarily care about the public's image of me, but I do want to be seen as like a successful person. I don't really care about like certain things people say, especially people who
Mm.
don't know me. But I think I'm really like concerned with like how well I do in my career, my business success, things like that, and not really wanting to be a failure.
Yeah. No, I agree with that 100%. So I felt like I resonated with this more. So the breakdown of the circle was interesting as well. And yeah, I think similar to what you said, like I don't really care about like how people think about me, but I want you to know that yeah, he is good at what he does. If you need something, and I'm good at it. Like he's the one to go to. I don't know if I fear failure. I think you use it as a opportunity, but obviously you don't want to fail. But when things don't go your way, you can use it as a way to to work on the building up of whatever the success you're trying to accomplish. Um, And so yeah, I think I resonated with this one more. Um, I think um, you want to be seen as a person of preeminence, and that what you decide to dive into is good. You did a good job with it, and it can lead to success for yourself. It can lead to success for the other people coming behind you. It can lead to, a different lifestyle for yourself, for your family, for the people that you care about, while also other people. So I think this was the one I probably resonated with the most.
With three being the one you resonated with the most, do you feel like you have like trouble slowing down and not always like chasing the next achievement?
Yeah, I do think always trying to always be on go, trying to keep myself busy. Just because you don't want to miss an opportunity or don't want to, miss something that's in front of you. And really, I think it's, you think about with me and success is like once you reach one goal, it's like on to the next one. All right, we hit this milestone. All right, what's the next thing? And I think sometimes I forget to, just sit and look back at what's been accomplished and how far I've come in whatever period of time, and that's something that I'm having to remind myself. And I was actually on a call with one of my PBT grind students yesterday, and she just started her first week of PT school, and she was like, "Yeah, I'm going through a lot. Like it's harder, way harder than I thought." And I was like, "Well, you got to think about what you went through to get to this point. Like you did all the applications, you did all the essays, you got all the grades, and this wasn't the end goal. This was a checkpoint to mark off, but." You got to also realize that, yeah, you deserve to be here because you put in the work. And sometimes I think we forget the work that we put in to get to the places that we're trying to get to. So I think that's something that I'm trying to not take things for granted and stay in the moment and reflect on what's been accomplished and in my life and my relationships and work and everything, sports, health, all of that. So
Yeah, and it's funny that you say that because one of the growth tips for personality type 3 was slowing down. It says that it can be easy for 3 to get so busy that they can miss what is right in front of them or take the present moment for granted. Take time to relax and appreciate the moment every once in a while. I think that's something that I started working on within like the last month or so, because especially with like building a business, you always want to be like top of mind and always want to post stuff. And then when you feel like you're running out of ideas, you kind of become overwhelmed, but you don't realize that all the work that you've already put in is still like there for people to see. So it's okay to take a day off. It's okay to like dial things back and get your thoughts together so that you can continue like serving people at the level you are. But I think being on go all the time, you don't get the chance to do that, and it kind of like taints the quality of work you're able to put out because you're always like trying to put out the next best thing. So slowing down, being more mindful, being present has definitely been more helpful for me than it has been ever.
Do you feel
But
like
it's hard to
that's
do.
oh for sure? Do you feel like that's um like it's different? It's easier for you to slow down like in like let's say your personal life versus business, or does it all kind of feel hard to slow down in all aspects?
What do you mean?
Just like with like being a business owner and like oh you were talking about trying to create content, always be on the go, like always putting stuff out and versus like in your personal life or like with your health or the things that you want like with reading or things like that, is it hard to slow down in other aspects of your life as well, or is it just like the business aspect?
I think it's hard in everything. Like I think how I am in my business, how I am in my personal life too. Like that's why I started doing the Hello Fresh meals I told you about. Cause I was like, if I have to cook, it forces me to slow down. But now I'm like ready to cancel it because I don't want to spend an hour and a half like cooking when I can be like working on my business or doing something else. Same thing with working out. Like I've been trying to incorporate more cardio because then I have time to like slow down and think and I'm not always like sitting at my desk and trying to read business books. Like I can like watch a mindless show um and do things like that. But I feel like it's still hard because in my when I'm working out, I want to speed through my workout so that I can like check it off and then get to the next thing. So it's I feel like it's hard for me to slow down in general. Like and it's hard for me to be present. Like when I'm out, I'm checking my emails. I'm checking my Facebook group. Like it's really bad. Like my friends be checking me. So I've been trying to get better at it, but I don't I don't think it's gotten really better, but I think it's still early and I'm noticing it now. So probably like the next couple months it'll be a little better. But it's I think it's just hard in general.
Hmm. Yeah, I think it's I think the first step, like you said, is being aware of it. And then you got people who are around you who are gonna call you out on like, yo, put it away. Like you don't need to check that right now. It's not gonna change
Uh-huh.
anything. So I think that all plays a part. And I think it's like systems to have in place to help you check yourself also, which I
What about
also
you?
no, I think it's hard. I think in all aspects, and um I'm trying to like spend more time like off my phone in the morning. Struggling with that. Um, trying to spend more time like writing things down, like journaling, spend more time reading, just to get away from, the phone and socials and, I'm just trying to have some time away to really just sit and think about, what's been going on, where things are heading, what's going to happen, what's happened in the past, just things like that. Trying to try and figure myself out as a human.
Yeah, it takes time. And you know
Mm.
what I realized? I feel like every time I get into a rhythm or a routine with something and I feel good about one thing, it's another thing that comes up and I have to like revise it again. And I'm like, it's a never ending process.
Always
It's
about that.
yeah, it's kind of annoying. It was kind of annoying at first, but I think once you get over like that annoyance feeling and start like changing your perspective on it, it becomes fun because you
Hmm.
find things that work for you now that probably didn't work for you before. You didn't envision working for you.
Hmm.
So I've been having fun with that, but at first I was getting annoyed. Like I was getting frustrated. Like, why can't everything like just like work out? Once I figure it out, why can't it just stay figured out?
Hmm.
Yeah.
And I feel like if you get like rigid in your schedule or rigid in your routine, like when things come at you and they change it throws it throws you off because you get so used to doing things a certain way, and that's not life, unfortunately. Like not everything's gonna be perfect. It's gonna be ups and downs, and we gotta be able to navigate those ups and downs. And I think the more adaptable that we are, it makes it a lot easier to see the fun in the problems or see the fun in finding the solution to whatever the problem is, knowing that you're gonna go up when you're at the bottom, and then when you're at the top, you're gonna come down again. And that's a normal up and down.
Yeah, it's life. What was your after after three? What was your next one?
One, and that was in the body type category, and that was a perfectionist. One's places a lot of emphasis on following the rules and doing things correctly. Type one's fear of being imperfect and be can be extremely strict with themselves and others. I feel like I'm getting better at this. I'm trying to just kind of what we just talked about. There's going to be ups and downs, and knowing that not everything has to be perfect. It just has to be, you just have to take steps to go in a direction and not just be stuck, not be walking in quicksand and sinking or not making any progress. But you can go up or down, but you got to take steps. And I think I'm getting better at the fact that I think maybe a year ago, trying to be perfect with like putting out videos that are perfectly edited and sound quality is great, and not stuttering my words or saying kind of like all that stuff. I think having this podcast and getting to talk more and just put stuff out there and let people see, the ends of how my brain works, how your brain works. I think it's helped with that feeling of having to be perfect and having everything be perfect, and we're just taking steps to being being better at this time. And so I think working on not being as much of a perfectionist, but following the rules and doing things correctly. I think there's a time and place. I think the rules can be bent a little bit. I don't think there's any problem with finding a different way to get a task done. But I think that's important in the discovery phase, and figuring things out, trying to be more adaptable problem solver. So yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And I think people I think that people appreciate the like the original content and like the raw content. They don't want to see things that are always polished all the time. So that's what I've learned with the podcast. And oh my God. That's what I've learned with the podcast. And also I think that the things that you probably wouldn't post because you want to be like perfect and polished all the time. If you post it, you'll be surprised at how many people actually like it. Um, Sherelle posted a video singing something the other day. It was mad funny. You know, she's mad funny on Facebook. And I was like, oh my God, I love this. And she was like, really? I wasn't gonna post it. I can't believe everybody likes it. And I was like, see, that's why it's important to like post stuff even if it's not perfect or up to your standards, because you're either gonna get people that like it and you didn't know, and then if people don't like it, you can still use it as a way to get feedback. But if you never post anything, if you never do anything, you're not gonna be able to get that feedback and know how you can improve.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
So
Absolutely. Yeah, I think it's also a way to, kind of like what we just talked about with the previous with number three. It's like it's a feedback loop to see, what works, what doesn't work, and people want to see. I think we've talked about this in previous episodes where we're talking about like now people are becoming influencers and it's more the person than the brand itself. I think if you can give people insight into who you are and not trying to put off this, oh, I don't make mistakes, I'm this, I'm that, but you're just authentically you, that's gonna drive people towards who you are as a person. And people that come to your page are gonna resonate with you, knowing that, you're comfortable in your own skin, you're able to talk how you talk, you're able to dress how you dress, you're able to communicate how you communicate. And if people like it, great. If people don't like it, that's fine too. But you're comfortable in the message that you're trying to get across and who you are as a person.
yeah. What was the what was the one that you scored the lowest in?
I scored the lowest on nine, the peacemaker. Nines like to go with the flow and let people around them set the agenda. Type nines fear pushing people away by prioritizing their own needs, and they tend to be passive. I have no problem prioritizing my own needs first. I like to set the agendas. I like to be in control of like of what I gotta do and what gotta get done. If people are mad at me, people are mad at me. Then I feel like they'll get over it eventually. So, or I'll get over it. So I think that's why I score the lowest on 9.
Yeah, same. It's funny. I scored the lowest on 9 too. I think there's a time and place to go with the flow. Like there's a lot of times where there's certain things that like if I'm not leading it and I would prefer to do it a different way. I kind of like pick and choose if I'm gonna say something, but if it's like truly bothering me, I'm gonna like speak up. But I think that like as I've gotten older, I've learned to like pick and choose what I'm gonna speak up about. But when it comes
Hmm.
to my stuff and me wanting things done a certain way, I definitely like prioritize what I want. And I don't think it's a bad thing. I think that if you are like a people pleaser and if you're always trying to play peacemaker, like it's hard to actually be your true self because you're going to be trying to appease both sides and you'll never really fulfill your true desires because when you do that, one party is going to be happy. You can never make both parties happy. So I think it's really hard to like be happy and be like a people pleaser or a peacemaker.
I think it's exhausting because you're like
It is.
fighting it. If you disagree with someone, but you're trying to make sure you don't hurt their feelings, it's like in your mind, you're like, I don't really vibe with this, but you're outwardly saying, oh yeah, it's fine, or I agree, whatever. It's just that inner conflict between your mind and your body. It just wears on you, and it can manifest itself in a lot of different ways. So I think if you can figure out how to audit the two, but also like pick and choose your spots, like you said, I think it's easier on the mind, it's easier on your heart because you're fine with the decisions that you made, and you can go to sleep knowing that, all right, like this is the decision that I made. I'm good with it, and keep it moving from there.
Yeah. Because you're the only one that you're the only one that has to live with the decision that you make. So at the end of the day, it's you. So I would always choose being like selfish and prioritizing my happiness as opposed to uh trying to appease the people and be miserable and be conflicted all the time. I hate feeling like that. Pisses me off. All right. I think that was the top ones that we had. And if you guys want to learn more about the other personality types, check out the show notes, check out the comments, and take the test for yourself and for the people around you so you can know how to better navigate, better move through your relationships and through your life. Anything else, man?
No, that's it.
All right. Catch you guys on the next. Peace.
Later.